Hello and welcome to another episode of the TF Cast.
Today with us, we have artist Jake Dickinson. Jake, would you please just take a moment and introduce yourself to the viewers at home?
Yeah, obviously my name is Jake. I am a visual artist. I've lived in Mankato most my whole life. Traveled around a couple of times, outside of Mankato and lived other places, but I'm back here now and, working as an artist stuff.
Cool.
What for people who might be unfamiliar, well, actually, we have a great example of a work that you did a while ago.
Yeah.
Why don't
I'll bring it up. I just own this painting. This is just all happenstance. Yeah, this one is this upright?
Yep,
Yes,
it is
yeah.
upright. Is it visible on the video? Good, cool.
Behold the work of Jake Dickinson. You can actually buy this from me for $60,000. That's how these things work.
$10,000 increase.
Yeah. There we go. I really liked that one. I haven't seen, I don't know if it's representative of your entire body of work, but today we're here mostly to talk about like the lifestyle and work of an artist, or that's what you kind of cue the conversation up as being about. Like, lay out some of your thoughts for us.
Well, it's been an interesting journey. Starting from when I was a little kid, I always really wanted to be an artist. I have older brothers. One of them is a tattoo artist. So I always I looked up to him a lot when I was a kid, tried to draw what he was drawing and do what he was doing. And as I got older, in high school and stuff, I took every art class that I possibly could. And then in college, I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts from MSU. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's definitely been a struggle. There's been times where I thought, I shouldn't do this anymore. Should I focus on something different, but still here, I'm still making work.
What have those moments centered around? Was it like struggling with the work itself, or was it like external factors?
Yeah. It's a little bit of both. It's external factors, being able to make enough money, getting your finances together and stuff. You working a full-time job and in conjunction with creating your work. And then it's also, sometimes the work just doesn't come to you. You don't feel inspired. You don't feel motivated and stuff like that. And in those situations, I try to take a step back and, really try to reassess, what I'm doing, what things that I'm interested in now. Like that painting that you showed earlier, that's...
I'll bring it up again.
Yeah.
I can see that. You can continue talking.
That's of... basically, it's an old photo that I was kind of recreating with these two sisters. They're Romanov sisters from Russia. They were murdered at the end of World War I.
Oh,
so just kind of an interesting thing. I liked the what I really liked about those was the quality of like the old photos and trying to recreate that somewhat in paint. Having this kind of like almost aged or not. I was going to say decrepit, but it's not really decrepit.
No, they have like a glossy kind of feature that cracks and adds some kind of filter.
Exactly.
Almost.
Exactly. So yeah, I've been mostly for the past year or so, I've been kind of focusing on those old paintings or paintings of old photographs and stuff. Now I'm kind of more transitioning towards more traditional painting, realism painting, and portraiture right now is what I'm kind of working on.
What pushed you towards making that pivot? Has you just done enough, or?
Yeah, it's a little bit of I kind of explored the subject matter to the point where I was satisfied with it, and I wanted to move on to something else. Also, I wanted to have the opportunity where people could commission me for work. It's a little hard to to commission a work that is like very personal, or something like that. So portraiture is an easy way to kind of get into that into that area.
There wasn't enough market of people wanting you to recreate their old family photos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've been trying to work on portraiture and get into the realism painting and stuff like that.
Okay.
Then, yeah.
You mentioned that you graduated from MSU. Did you say when that was?
Yeah, it was actually pretty recently. It was the start of 2020. That's when I graduated, right at the start of the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'd been practicing artist for long before you went there, or what did you go to school for?
Yeah, I did.
What was your reason for choosing to go to school for that, and then like how'd you get involved with that part?
It's kind of a long story, but I first went to college right after high school. I went to MCAT up in the cities. And I spent about a year and a half there. After a while, I was getting in my own head, thinking about tuition being so expensive and stuff. Should I keep doing this anymore? And that was one of the points in my life where I thought, I need to make a change, a different avenue, because this painting, or at least what I'm doing in college right now, isn't going to work out for me. So after that, I lived in Mankato. I moved back to Mankato for a little while. I then moved out to Oregon, where I lived out there for a little bit. And then from Oregon, I moved to New York, and I lived out there. And each time, I kind of kept coming back to like what am I going to do with my life? Like what makes me happy? And each time, I would, when I was out in Oregon or when I was out in New York, I would come back to making a drawing or making a painting, and stuff. And it was like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is obviously, I'm very passionate about it, even though, it's going to be hard and it's going to be, just difficult to make it as an artist or make a living as an artist. I need to try. Yeah. And so after I got back from New York, I enrolled at MSU to finish my Bachelor of Fine Arts, and then I finished that in early 2020.
That's really interesting to me, on account of the fact that a lot of times I feel like people who we encounter have some of those events go in the exact opposite order, where they determine that they want to be an artist, and then they move to a larger metro for something. And what had you there having those thoughts and then thinking like, oh, I'm going to go back to Mankato? Right.
Well, yeah, the whole, at the time moving out to New York, I had aspirations of writing and doing comedy and stuff. That really didn't pan out for me so well out there, but my whole reason for going to New York was I had this idea in my head that New York would be different. It would fill my expectations of what being in the art world would be like, and what making art would be like. I thought, I could really find my niche out there. But really, and I've done that a couple of times where, pick up and move, and you feel like you're going to make a fresh start. Things are going to be new and stuff like that. And to an extent, it's new, it's invigorating. It's kind of a fresh start, but you still need to, you're still you, no matter where you go, you're still you. The problems that you face and the obstacles that you face are still going to come with you. So after being out in New York for about a year, I decided I wanted to come back. I wanted to re-enroll in school. And Mankato, growing up in high school, especially in high school, I had such animosity towards the city that I grew up in. And I felt it was very constricting, and that I wasn't meeting the people that I wanted to meet. But now that I've come back and I can really see it with fresh eyes, I see that this town has a whole lot to offer. There's an enormous amount of opportunity here, and there's a lot of people that, are doing like really, really cool things in this town. And it's why this is kind of a cool opportunity to be here and stuff, talk to you guys.
I would tend to agree. I think that there's just kind of a whole, our proximity to the cities oftentimes, like they're just like larger, scene there in general overshadows it. Like if you're not paying attention to the fact that there's literally constantly something going on in Mankato.
Yeah.
But it is, you're kind of like living in the shadow of a giant, but I've said this 1,000 times, so it probably sounds like I'm beating on a broken drum to anyone who listens. Like, like even organizing this show, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a guest every week.
Right.
And like, I've literally never had any problem, even on short notice, like finding someone to be here. And like now I'm like, oh, I'll be able to do this show forever and probably have to like be conservative about repeating guests.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. It's as long as you keep trying and stuff. And that's kind of what I've learned, like it's, you're gonna fail. You're gonna have moments where things aren't going right and stuff. But as long as you just keep going, keep putting your head down and keep working at it, like things will work out. Maybe not exactly how you pictured them, but
Mm-hmm. What has that looked like for you? What have you when you have taken those steps to persevere? Was it coming back, or was it something you did while you were here, or something in your art career?
It just made me think of grant applications specifically. It's really disheartening to like put so much work into a proposal and stuff, and then have them come back and be like, no, we're not interested. Or even a gallery space, my work sometimes can be a little bit off-putting, and I think it doesn't do well in every single setting, and stuff. So some galleries are just not, right for my type of work and stuff. And it's kind of hard to get that, that feedback and stuff that, but as as long as I keep applying and keep doing it, things are just gonna kind of work out and stuff.
Certainly. Well, there's got to be a kind of a silver lining to that too. Like if your work was just like totally palatable, it would be like in the dentist's office or like adorning some corporate space somewhere.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
So, what is you mentioned there was sort of a transition to some more photorealism stuff. What's been inspiring some of that? Like what interests you in that space?
Yeah, I wanted to get better at color mixing, and I wanted to get better at just accurately mixing colors with oil paints and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I've been watching a lot of YouTubers who are like hyper realistic painters and stuff. I think, and there's this I have an interest in in doing portraiture and in doing more realistic painting. So I just
moving that way. I mean, you said it was kind of a financial decision.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of thing that I don't want to say, do you feel like that's a compromise, or is it like investing in your ability to do what you love?
No, I think it definitely is a compromise, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think a lot of times as artists, we want to like have it be our way all the time, but we make this work not only for ourselves, but for other people, so it's, I think being able to compromise and being able to, do something different, maybe outside of your realm of expertise, is a really, powerful thing to be able to do. I think of my professor, Brian Frank at MSU, he for a period of time there was just doing pet portraits, like these gigantic, pet portraits and stuff. And I don't know exactly the reason why he started doing that, but he is mostly an abstract painter, And for him to go and then try this kind of hyper realism on a large scale is, it just, I think it helps for whatever you're doing. Like for him, like he is primarily abstract and stuff, but these like larger than life canvases that he was working on kind of helped to inform like his abstract pieces in a way, like in terms of like line quality and depth and stuff like that.
I think I've had like similar situations where I see an artist do something completely different than what I've known them for.
Right.
And then watching how they work with something I understand better contextualizes the other work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
At some level too, as a creator of art or things, I think that there's a good balance of making your stuff, whether it's palatable or experimenting with different ways of doing things, and then kind of being able to collect what you've learned and apply those different things. So it's cool to be able to look at a new opportunity like that and kind of design it around some idea to whether it is to maybe do more commissions, or whether it's to like explore the fine tuning colors, like, and just kind of dialing in some of those practices. It seems like a really neat way of approaching a artistic practice.
Yeah, definitely. I've been really trying to work on the more technical side of painting, get more familiar with all that stuff, just so that I can bring that over into the other stuff that I'm very interested in,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What artists inspire you in that realm?
I think of Goya a lot, and I also Francis Bacon is a huge inspiration for me. He also worked from like photographs and stuff like that, and that also was kind of one of the inspirations, or one of the things that I liked from working from like old photographs and recreating the painting, was that like you can really recontextualize the portrait and stuff by doing it that way. Like Francis Bacon would take like photos of gymnasts and stuff like that, and then paint those onto the canvas, but it became this very like graphic, sinister, I shouldn't say sinister, but really, really graphic and really brutal, kind of scene.
I could see the word sinister there too, just on account of the color palette. Like it kind of is like what you'd expect to see in like a horror movie poster or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. Like a lot of our modern ideas of what horror is come from visual artists, from way back in the day and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, so
I would actually wonder. Oh, you can go.
You go.
Okay, I was gonna say, because there's been like historically, and I don't know if you're equipped to answer this question, because I don't know about it at all. But like horror art through history in general has changed like a lot. Like depictions of hell, have changed from like ice to fire and like all these different things. And I wonder what of those, what era of time, because I can visualize what you're saying, but I don't have like the art history background to like say like what it is that's carried forward so much into popular culture there. Because even when I think about some movies now that have been like a little bit different, like Midsommar, like that was a very odd color palette for like such a horrifying film.
Yeah.
And like I think that's a lot of what was cool about it.
For sure. Yeah, and that made me think of Hieronymus Bosch, and his painting Garden of Earthly Delights. That is, it's just a densely packed painting with, it's a triptych. One is showing paradise, one is showing purgatory, and then the other is showing hell. And in hell, it is just chaos. There's like guys with chicken heads running around with and there's like an ear with a big knife, and it's just kind of crazy, really surreal horror. Before surreal horror was like kind of a coinage term, and stuff like that. It was all religious based, and I think it was this fear of hell, fear of dying, or it could even be like with the Black Plague. A lot of time, like the Black Plague basically, made people really who were alive during that time period very comfortable with death. Death became like kind of a part of like everyday culture and stuff like that. So you see a lot of artists' work who came out of the Black Plague having, it's very graphic. It's very, it's kind of disturbing a little bit, and stuff. But and also it's also like could be satirical as well. Like they're almost making fun or making light of it. So there's two different kind of reactions to it. Yeah.
It's really interesting to think about a plague time like that, where people are, because I mean, just thinking about like how many people in America just died here with COVID.
Yeah.
And I know that happened, but like it happened in like a way that I didn't interact with, like I participated in like trying to like mask up or be safe or whatever. But like for how many people just vanished, like I didn't really see it.
Yeah.
And like you saw it on your phone, like the crazy shit in New York, like, the mass graves or the overcrowded trucks in the beginning. But for the most part now, when things are starting to fill up again, it like if you just like transported from someone from 2018 to right now, you wouldn't know that there was a pandemic on.
Yeah.
Unless someone like told you.
Yeah. It's really weird. Yeah. It's definitely different from, like, and I'm sure it was different in each, depending on where you lived. If you lived in a densely packed city in during the Black Plague, you saw people being wheeled out in wheelbarrows, like big mass piles of bodies and them, but we are so removed from it. It's really weird. This pandemic has like, instead of us making us comfortable with death and like the Black Plague kind of did to those people, this has kind of made us more isolated than previous, and made us a little bit more, I don't know, I guess, yeah, self, not self-reliant, but like, yeah,
independent.
Yeah.
Well, I think that with a lot of the medical deaths going on, I don't know if medical deaths is a term, whatever. A lot of the people who died resulting from the pandemic here, I guess like you said, it wasn't big cities with like overfilling carts. Like that's a very different kind of experience, I think. And and this is probably beyond the scope of this conversation entirely, but like I think we as Americans especially have a weird relationship with death where we like really hide it, or it's very traditional in a sense with the funerals and things, and
right.
There's a lot of different cultures that have kind of a different approach, which I wouldn't want to speak to really either, but it's very interesting.
It is, yeah. I do know that that like, Ireland, for example, like the funeral process is a lot different. It's more of a celebration of a person's life than the mourning of a loss, which is kind of interesting that we treat it that way. Like it just, I don't. In my mind, it makes more sense to celebrate the person's long life than their short death, and stuff like that. But
yeah. I guess I don't really know much about that. I've been to a very thankfully low number of funerals here in America.
No, that's good.
Yeah, it's like it all ties into like burial practices or like the relationship we have with, I don't know if it's like graveyards or ancient sites or even just like your aging family members too. You know, I think we are very disconnected from that in a lot of cases in America too. You know, they go into a home and they're tended to by someone rather than living in your house with you until they die a ripe old age of 80 or whatever.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with it. And I'm kind of circling back to the art conversation and stuff, has a lot to do with,
yes.
like, you know, working 40 hours a week, and having a lot of obligations in this country. Like, you know, we work really hard. We're at work more than we are at home most of the time. So, you know, and that's why it is difficult to like, keep the art practice going, you know, especially if you're not making, you know, a living at it, you know, it can be really, really difficult because you're spending all this time at another job and it's something that you don't like. You're not, well, I shouldn't say that, but most of the time it's something that
it's probably not what you would do if you had the afternoon off.
Exactly. If there's a piece of American culture I feel entitled to talk about, I would say it's like building our personas through our work.
Yeah.
And like as artists, when art is so regularly undervalued, like it's easy to move that onto yourself. And that's a theme that I've encountered talking with artists all the time, where like they emotionally know the value of their work. The community celebrates the value of their work. And then the economy is just kind of like, bleh, you know, like no, you can't live. You have to go do something else unless you've really broken through on the other side, or you do one of the art practices that is one that gets you paid well.
Right. Yeah.
And there are plenty of those, and not to like discourage anyone from being an artist, because I do think that I think that Gen Z has had enough. Like, I think that they're done with like being defined by workplace culture, and that they're going to do something else. So,
right.
I think we're all millennials in the room, but you know, we can thank Gen Z for that. You guys keep it up. Yeah. But yeah, I hope that that's not me just talking to your feelings.
No. Yeah. I mean, you said something there, like, being defined by, you know, what you do for a living and stuff like that. It can be really, especially if you want to do something else, you know, it can be really, it's an identity issue, you know. You start to question, you know, like who you are as a person and stuff. I've been there so many different times. Yeah. In that regard.
Well, and with that too, it's difficult to separate it for yourself. You're like, I'm an artist and this job is okay, like it's not my thing, but everyone keeps asking me about this job, and like at work all we do is talk about this job.
Right.
And that work becomes very present in your life, whether you were like a committed ladder climber or not. You know, it just becomes a big part of your being here. And so I think that can be really tough for people. And like you said too, on the sustainability side of being creative, like that requires time and energy. And like if you've got a lot of your time sucked up by this other thing, it can be really challenging to make sure that you've got the space in your life to really like pursue the things you want to as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to, you know, like, be comfortable with investing money, investing your time and stuff into something that you're not even sure is going to work out. But it's, I think it's, you know, it's really important to especially if you have that drive, if you have that passion for doing it, to continue to keep doing it. I'm going to mention Brian Frank again. I had this conversation not too long ago when I started working a new job. you know, and it was going to be a really physical, hard labor job and stuff. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to have enough energy after the end of the day to go and paint and stuff. And he told me that, you know, like as long as I keep art the center of my life, you know, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep progressing in it. And that can be like, you know, just constantly keeping your mindset like, okay, I'm working on this piece, you know. And so if I'm at work, you know, like I can kind of ponder what I'm thinking about, you know, like, and stuff like that. But it's difficult with, when it's not your main profession, it's really difficult to keep that focus, keep it the center of your life, and, you know, keep things moving. But, you know, yeah.
So what are you working on right now? Like what does your art practice look like currently?
Well, I was at the Emmy Frentz Center. I had a studio down there.
Okay.
I recently moved out of that and have now like my whole upstairs of my apartment. That's just my studio space. I like that a lot better. I get to hang out with my cat and stuff. And
Good old work from home.
Exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, I've been working on, like I said before, just kind of traditional portraiture. It's been just mostly friends. I got a grant through the Prairie Lakes Regional Arts Council.
Oh, great.
To basically, you know, invest time into like getting better at doing portraiture. And so far I've done 3 canvases that are about 3 feet tall by 2 feet wide. I did my brother's wife and my dad and some my friend's girlfriend. I did. So yeah, it's been really cool. I like doing realism. It is really it is somewhat nerve-wracking to be able to try to get a likeness down, especially when you know the person's going to be looking at it and you know they know what they look like, you know. So yeah, it's a little difficult, but it's really fun seeing it all kind of come together. And like a lot of times with like, you know, more abstract painting, I'm kind of skipping steps, you know, like instead of blocking in a whole area and stuff like that, I'll just kind of paint the figure right on the bare canvas and then paint around it and stuff just to give it a little bit of different effect. With the more traditional painting, I'm kind of trying to go step by step, you know, like I'm building, you know, the head first and stuff, and then I'm putting on the features, and then I'm going over again with like more finer detail stuff. Yeah, so it's been definitely a really enjoyable experience, and I think I definitely think I'm learning a lot that I can, you know, like move towards more of, you know, just my regular stuff. I'm not really sure if I'm going to go back to working from old photographs at this point. You know, there's still some that I have in my collection that are really that I still really want to work from, but I think maybe, you know, maybe trying something else and stuff could be fun as well. So, yeah.
What are there any other projects you kind of have, you know, sitting on the back burner? Some things you want to try when you develop your portraiture far enough? Yeah.
I want to get more into like figurative painting. That's kind of been the thing, and using a model and stuff and painting a la prima, basically. You know, while they're in the studio doing a quick gestural kind of painting. And those are quick gestural kind of paintings is what I eventually want to go towards, you know, like, or that's what I'm trying to sort of work towards. And I did this project, I think it was 2 years ago now, where I did a painting every day for about 150 days.
Whoa.
And, it was, you know, I basically gave myself a bunch of rules to follow, you know, like I had to lay out my palette beforehand, and then I gave myself about 30 minutes to complete each painting, not including prep time and all that stuff. So they became like really kind of off the cuff sort of paintings that were just very gestural, super loose and stuff like that. But they were also kind of had like this sort of ethereal quality to them that I really, really liked. And it's kind of like, it makes me think of, comedy when people doing open mic nights and stuff like that. So part of the point of open mic night is to get used to the crowd, get used to the feedback. And being able to get up there and like tell a joke off the cuff, somebody says something and then, you respond to it and stuff like that. It's kind of a similar way in which I was like approaching the drawing. It was like kind of just off the top of my head as I go. Stuff. Yeah.
And so partly too with developing some of the other skills around that, you kind of are more capable of quickly getting to where you want to go in that style.
Exactly. Yeah. You, the more that I learn about it, the more that I learn how to like build from step one to, the final step, like the more I can skip around and, kind of be familiar with like what I'm working with and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Well, why don't we let people know where they could maybe find some of your stuff, and if you want to point them in that direction.
Yeah. I have an Instagram right now that's it's RW Dickinson Art, and I got a Facebook page as well. It's the same thing, RW Dickinson Art. Hopefully in the future I'll be getting I'll get some gallery space going up and stuff or something like that. I'm also interested in like doing like pop-up stuff, stuff outside of galleries, cool. I thought that would be kind of cool to kind of branch out and do something a little different. So,
yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you the best with it, and thank you for joining us on such short notice today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, this was a delightful surprise.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah,
it's fun. I've seen that painting in Jacob's house for a long time, and not had any idea who it was. So it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Any final parting words we want to land on this thing? You got a message for the masses?
Keep working hard at your stuff. Eventually things will work out for you.
There we are.
Yeah.
That's a message.
Yeah.
I'm supportive of that one as well, I think, generally. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was good.
Cool.
Later. See you next time.